Okay. I'm going to go ahead and get this meeting started. It's 6:59 and getting ready to turn to 7 o'clock. Everybody please stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please remain standing for a moment. We'll take a moment of silence for all of our first responders, WeGo, and all of our military and the Ukrainian people. Thank you. Thank you. Please be seated. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and get started here this evening. During this hybrid meeting, public comment will be handled as follows. The Zoom public is asked to please remain muted during the meeting when the board's talking. If you do not wish to be seen in the boardroom, or TVs, or on the YouTube video, please turn your camera off via Zoom. In-person public participants will be given first opportunity to come in and ask questions on each agenda item that requires a board vote. And the Zoom public participants will be given the second opportunity to comment and ask questions on each agenda item that requires a vote. Zoom participants wishing to comment must raise their hand icon, state their name, and speak one at a time. I'm going to say this meeting is being recorded via Zoom, and a recording will be uploaded later to the Township's YouTube channel for viewing. Under the chairman's report, this Chester County Solid Waste Authority's next household hazardous waste collection will be Saturday, April the 9th in Phoenixville. Please register online. And the board met in executive session tonight prior to the meeting to discuss a personnel and a legal matter. There are new public hearings this evening, and we're going to move right on to emergency reports. And we have Chief Brenda Burnett with us tonight.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to start with an overview of some statistics. There were 899 calls for service in the 3 townships during the month of February. That's 16% higher than the same time period in 2021, but 2% lower than our pre-pandemic levels in 2020 and 2019. With regard to East Goshen specifically, 478 of the 899 calls for service were in East Goshen during February. It's a 16%, almost 17% increase over 2021. But the good news is that it is still a little bit lower than the pre-pandemic levels in 2020 and 2019. We invite everybody to go to Crime Watch to see specific information about the cases that we're investigating and the arrests that we've made. But the one thing that you will find there that you find good information on is the police blotter, because it will tell you what specifically is happening in your region of the township. The highlights for February during the last 4 months were 4 weeks, were 16 disturbances, 16 fraud investigations, 11 theft investigations. Once again, we're finding that catalytic converter thefts continue to lead our thefts, particularly in East Goshen. We had 3 child abuse investigations, 1 aggravated assault investigation with an arrest, 1 simple assault investigation, 5 civil dispute investigations, 1 missing juvenile investigation where the child was located, 1 weapons investigation where a person attempted to purchase a firearm where they were prohibited by law from doing it, and 1 drug investigation with an arrest. Are there any questions from the board?
I just want to comment that I have seen the posters out and about in the community that really target those gift card scammers. So I wanted to let you know that I am seeing them out and about.
What
Thank
Michelle's
you.
referring to is, although it was discussed at the police commission meeting and hasn't been in the townships, for a long time, we've been trying to educate our residents about various scams. And we've decided to take a slightly different approach. We find that a lot of our senior citizens are scammed into going out and buying gift cards. So we've created a poster, and we're not only displaying it at the stores where they buy the gift cards, but we're also providing like a mini education to the individuals who work in those stores so that when they see a senior citizen trying to buy $6,000 or $8,000 in gift cards, that they say something to them and prevent it. On a side note, we recently received a donation from the Greater Westchester Chamber of Commerce, and we're going to use those funds to give gift cards or some other financial benefit to the individuals who stop seniors from being scammed. Kind of like, we'll give them a letter of recognition, but I also think that a financial gift might make a difference for them. So thanks, Michelle. Thanks for reminding me.
It's a really great initiative.
Yeah, we're excited about it. Hopefully we can stop our seniors from being scammed.
I know it seems kind of wrong to give them a gift card for.
Yeah, I know. It
stopping
seems like they're stopping scams of gift cards and we give them gift cards.
Does anybody have any other questions of the board now? Are there any questions from our audience here? And are there any Zoom participants that have any questions of Police Chief? I can't see. Does anybody have their hand up? Okay, looks like none. So thank you very much for coming out tonight, Chief. See you tomorrow. Okay, moving along to the Goshen Fire Company. So Grant, do you want to come on up? It's good to see you.
Good evening. So the February monthly report for 2022 from the Goshen Fire Company. We are starting to return to pre-pandemic response levels. We're approximately 21% above last year for combined fire and EMS responses. We had 41 fire responses in February, 13 of which were in East Goshen Township. And we had 32 fire police responses, 8 of which were in East Goshen, and 328 EMS responses, 146 of which were in East Goshen Township. As I mentioned last month, and it continued through February, East Goshen responses are actually down a bit from last year, while the other townships are still above last year. So we attribute that. EMS, I mentioned this before, some of the assisted living facilities are not calling quite as often for EMS calls. And also, I think automatic alarm responses in Hershey's Mill Village are down. They were pretty steady over the last couple of years, but they seem to have dropped off. And then, as I mentioned in the report that I submitted, we held our annual elections last Monday night at our annual company meeting. Ted Harrison has joined us this evening. He is our new president. Dave Thompson is our vice president. And everybody knows Bob Fleming. We want to thank Bob for 4 years of being president. He decided that 4 years was a good run. So you had requested just some information on Narcan use in the township. So in 2021, I think I reported 60 or so overdoses in 2021. Out of those incidents, we had 4 Narcan administrations. And of that, we ended up with 33 transports. So
That's great to know. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then this is probably something you can answer off the top of your head. I was just curious, which other municipalities do you service, and are they contributing as well? Do they contribute to the fire department?
yes, they do. So we
Okay.
cover, so obviously East Goshen Township's our home township. We
Right.
cover about 95% of
Right.
East Goshen.
Mhm.
We cover about 40% of West Goshen Township,
Mm, mhm.
about 50% of Westtown Township, and around 20% of Willistown Township.
And then who are the other category? There's another.
Other
it
would
says
be a
other.
mutual aid response to Westchester Borough or Malvern or.
Okay, so
some.
still local.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. But we had one response to Oxford this month. if that
Oh,
counts.
my.
Yeah.
Is that because of the issue with Brandywine Tower Health?
No, it was for a junkyard fire.
Oh, okay. Oh, Oxford, that's interesting. Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Grant?
I just think worth reiterating what Grant referenced. If we look at the total responses per municipality year on year, compared with last year, it is worth noting that the percentages, while the total amongst all the responses for all municipalities serviced is up 21%. East Goshen is down 7%, while the others are West Goshen is up 50%, Westtown's up 72%, Willistown's up 22%, and the other mutual aid calls are up 85%. So, you know, it's the service area is what it is, but either something, as you referenced, with some of the continuing care facilities, et cetera, that is, I guess, contributing, Grant, but it's a significant variance from East Goshen compared to all the other municipalities. So I just think it's worth noting, and if that trend continues, maybe it won't, but I don't know what the implications are, but it's worth paying attention to, and it plays back into this providing a year perspective, prior 12 months, et cetera. It's valuable. And I'm going to comment on that aspect of reporting in a minute for the other reports. So
I actually, one of the reasons I wanted to know the other category, which municipalities that encompassed, was because I saw those are trending up. So that's why I'd asked the question. I think that's it. And unless, John, you have anything?
I just want to say congratulations.
Congratulations. Thank you for coming out tonight. Are there any questions here from the audience for Grant or Zoom? Seeing none, then I will thank you very much for your time tonight.
Have a great night.
You too. Moving along, Fire Marshal Carmen Batavio is here. Do you mind coming up, Carmen? You ready?
I don't even need to get up. Brandon's head is such a good job.
I know.
I could just keep sleeping. Good evening, everyone. How you doing? Thanks for having me. Grant did a marvelous job giving the Goshen response, which he always does. So I'll just give you Malvern and Good Fellowship. As your paperwork indicates, Malvern had 37 ambulance calls, 7 basic life and 30 advanced life. And Good Fellowship Club had 54 in East Goshen, which is their typical 10.7%. So they're staying fairly level. All the other information is in your packet. If you have any questions, feel free.
Actually, I actually had talked to Derek and asked him to get that year-over-year number for each of the other.
Beautiful,
well,
because that's where I was
because
going with this.
that
That
doesn't-
means nothing to us unless we can see it some
It
year
it
perspective.
really is
whether-
important.
Yeah, and Good
Yeah.
Fellowship, particularly with the Kim
Kim,
and Josh, Chaz. I mean, those guys are very capable. They make great presentations when they're out to see municipalities. And I know that they can put those stats in there, and it provides valued perspective that at least 1 year look back of year to date. So I think, you know,
They just need the request from a political body, and I'm sure they can do it. So Derek will take care of it, I'm sure.
Now, Carmen, before you step away, do we have any questions here for Carmen? Nobody. So as it's my prerogative, I'm going to switch things up a little bit. And instead of going to our financial report, I'd like to go to under old business A, considering the beehive placement in Supply Valley open space. Can we talk about that while you're up there?
Certainly can. It's Supply.
I thought it was Supply.
Supply.
I knew I was going to say it wrong. Didn't matter which one I
A
said.
little bit of history. Wilmer Supply, who was the farmer that actively farmed that, Nancy Keslick's father, he owned all that land and had a barn fire from an arsonist, basically put him out of business. So he sold off the properties to Rocklands and so forth. So it's called Supply. Okay, beehives. I approached Jason, actually Jason and I talk like 17 times a day. The Bellingham, East Goshen location on the East Goshen open space has done a tremendous job for education for pollinators, for schools. I think Jason's running a few programs where I'm going to be doing hive introductions with little diplomas, the whole thing for people, and he's sold out. It's a limited class because as part of the grant that he got for the honeybees, he did buy some equipment and some clothing, bee outfits for smaller adults. I think he has one for him and so forth. So it's becoming very successful. I haven't seen how the area is going to do yet because it's the first year they're there as far as pollination and what's going to happen. But the important thing is the three-way connection between Bellingham, East Goshen, and Carmen Bees for education and to make people aware of how important honeybees are. Talking to Jason, I know for a fact that the Reservoir Road area is a very good pollination area. Jeff Breyer, a very close friend of mine, we do all of our beekeeping together. He had hives at his house right across the street, but he has too much shade. And the shade creates hive beetles, which are very nasty little critters. So he had to move them off into different yards. He had a tremendous honey area off of that whole area. So talking to Jason, I said it would be really interesting to see what the production and what the pollination rates of the two different areas would be, monitor that. And even though it isn't really active open space, I would be willing at any time to do a hive demonstration if Jason would like to, because it puts people in a little bit of nature. Instead of having a mulch trail with fence and all that stuff like Bellingham, you're actually in nature, back in the weeds, so to speak. So that's an option that we can do. So he proposed it to Park and Rec and Conservancy. I believe you have the approval in front of you, the recommendation for approval. I just think it would be wonderful to continue the pollination program for East Goshen Township, offer another area if need be for some local education values. And that's basically it. Questions? Legalities. It would be the same legal document that we have down at Bellingham, except Bellingham would not be on it. It would just be East Goshen and myself. And it would be the same form.
Well, I would just add one huge benefit to the township. I would just say, hey everyone, the one major benefit to the township of the beehives at Saplee would be that it supports the open space. It's 26 acres, which is a pretty large piece of property. It's roughly half the size of East Goshen Park. And so beehives have been demonstrated time and time again to really support the natural environment, water quality, air quality, pollination, flowers, etc. So from our standpoint, while I would love the opportunity to continue to educate the kids, I see these black shot beehives as that primary focus, and the ones over there would really be to serve the open space that we have for the township.
You're gonna be able to get rid of that beaver.
Madam Chair, I'd like to recommend a motion that we accept the recommendation of the Parks and Recreation Commission and the staff and Mr. Batavio to place these beehives in Saplee Valley, the open space in partnership with Carmen's Bees Honey.
Thank you. Thank you.
Carmen, I have a question. The hold harmless agreement, I have not looked at the one from Bellingham. Do you find, is that, I see here in the proposal that it includes that you're responsible for damage to the hive and vandalism, all that kind of thing. What about liability? Is that included in the Bellingham? And
I have a liability policy that holds East Goshen harmless, and it's like $3 million.
okay, so it's a contract backed up by insurance. Okay, that's my only question.
It's an
Thank you.
insurance certification that I give to Jason every year, and it would be the same policy. They're my hives. You're giving me permission to put it on your open space. Full maintenance by me. Any damage to the hives from a meteorite or something is my responsibility. And it's off the beaten trail, so there should be no problem with bees bothering anybody.
Board, do you have any other questions or comments? Are there any questions or comments from our audience that's in, please come up to the microphone and state your name for us. Thank you. Thanks. So everybody on Zoom can hear us too. Thank you.
I am Laura Zimbrowski, and I was just wondering how many hives? And will you be painting them colors, or will they be white? Will they be unsightly? That's all.
They're typically
I'm sorry?
white.
Do you want me to do it in the mic? Yeah. My address is 1457 Glenbrook Lane, Westchester.
The hives are predominantly white painted boxes. The honey supers that go on top are white, or I really like blue is my favorite color. Some of them are light blue, but they're not wild. They're not like, yeah, there's no neon lighting and Michael Lynch for county position or anything like that. Oh, yeah, in the area of about 4 to 6, probably 6.
Are there any questions from our Zoom participants? Oh, that's okay. You can come up too. Come on up. Looks like none. So yes, please state your name and address for the record.
Robert Plummer, 1339 Park Avenue, Westchester, East Goshen. I don't know a whole lot about the bees, but does this take away from their natural environment that they have to go to a hive? Or that's the question I have. Is there? Is there any natural bees left after hives? Or because I see hives everywhere. I'm just kind of concerned about, the natural part of them in the environment.
You're making
That's
sure
all.
that you just want to ask if he's displacing any
Yeah,
other
yeah,
bees that
pretty
are
much.
naturally
I have no
found?
problem with them, but just a question.
Uh-huh. So Carmen, can you answer that?
Thank you.
Their typical environment would be rotted trees. They don't go in the ground, that's yellow jackets. They love to go into houses, old farmhouses. They go into the gutters and become a real hassle. If they're in a tree up north, they're going to die. In the wintertime, there's not going to be enough. They're not going to be able to maintain enough heat. So it is typical for beekeepers to have them in a hive. Everything else is natural. It's all wax foundations. It's the same thing you find out in nature when they build their comb. So it actually gives them more protection, and it allows us to treat for mites and different insects that will affect bees and kill them off. So that gives us the opportunity in a hive to actually protect them more.
Could we say this is somewhat analogous to bluebird boxes where we're providing opportunities to support the population and creating really safe environments for them to prosper and to create the products that they do and do what they do? I mean, that's what we're
True,
really
beaver
doing.
dams and
We're stewarding without interfering really with the
stewards
nat-
of the environment. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, if you have a question, come on up to the microphone, please. Hi there, please state your name and your address, please.
I'm Eddie Decker, 40 Lockwood Lane. Just curious what happens with the honey that's generated by these hives. 'Cause that's now 6 here and 4, I believe it's 4 at Bellingham. So just curious what goes on with the honey and what about the output of them?
Bellingham is sponsoring 4 hives at the blacksmith shop. So they get a substantial amount of honey from it since they actually bought me the beehives to help sustainability. So they do get the honey. we do get the rest. Helps to pay for our maintenance and all the expense of keeping the bees. Once Supply Valley, it would be the same thing. The cost of the maintenance is just so astronomically expensive that I don't really like to go to markets, but I have to sell honey to offset the operation. So in Supply Valley, the honey would come to me.
In kind rent either. We don't ask for.
Okay.
Your support, we're endorsing your work because it supports the environment.
Okay, and if there are no other questions, Zoom participants don't have any other questions. I'm asking the board, do you have any other questions? So can we go ahead and call this to a vote? Those in favor of supporting the beehives? Aye. Thank you. All right, financial report. Thank you, Carmen. Oh, happy birthday.
I hope you have a great bee day.
You better leave before it gets worse. All right, so we've got the financial report. Dave, would you like to
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair.
regale us?
So the February 2022 financial report, as of February 28th, net of pass-throughs, the general fund had year-to-date revenues of 1.781619 and expenses of $1,915,392 for a deficit of $133,772. As of February 28th, the general fund balance was $5,787,497. Our actual year-to-date revenue finished 2% lower than budget and 6% lower than prior year. Predominantly, this is driven by EIT being considerably higher than prior year, 44% versus budget, 32% versus prior year. And we just received notice of our first county real estate property tax payment. We set up an ACH to expedite the process. So we'll be playing catch up, but we're keeping expenses in line. We're 1% of budget year to date, 6% lower than prior year. So all in all, once the real estate property tax receipts catch up, I think that we're on track right now to hit our budget in 2022.
I was going to ask about the recorder of deeds and as well as the Chester County Treasurer with the property tax recorder of deeds for the real estate transfer, but it sounds like you got it. They're getting back in sync, which was unusual. They're usually very good with both of those administrative processes of getting things out timely. So I'm glad.
Yeah, part of it was the supply chain. So it was an issue of stock and timing. We should be caught up soon.
I just wanted to ask one question too, when I didn't have a chance, Madam Chair, if I might have, Dave, you gave us a variance detail report. Dave listed a month to date as of February 22, and then you gave us it looks like an identical report, February of 22 general fund, but there are two different sets of numbers, but they're both stated for February 22. Did you mean one was for 21 or am I missing something?
Yeah, the first one is a month to date report for February. So it's just a month
Oh,
over
year to
month.
date, that's,
And the
thank
second
you.
is the
No, I
year to
got you,
date.
never mind, that's it, thank you.
Mhm.
I missed that completely when I was looking at it. Why, I don't know, different numbers, not picking that up, don't ask me.
The month to date isn't nearly as informative as the year to date.
Right.
Just for people who aren't familiar with the government finances, tracking year to date is much more important to see where we're at.
Thank
Mhm.
Okay, and moving on, no other questions about the financial report. Moving on then to the treasurer's report. Oh, sorry, I missed you, Russ.
Let's see, how do I get this thing to work?
It's
Am I on?
working.
Oh,
You're on.
hey, Dave. With the East Goshen property tax going into Chester County, how accurate was the first pass?
Accurate in what capacity?
My concern is that when I paid East Goshen property tax to East Goshen, the payments went right to the account. Sending 2 checks to Chester County, how accurate am I assured that my payment for East Goshen is credit to the proper account? And if something was to happen, what is my avenue for addressing that?
I mean, they do the same process that we have done. And since the county is collecting it, they're processing it. The avenue is to go to the county with any questions that you have.
Okay.
They handle 26 municipalities
Yeah.
now, something like that.
But Russ, it's really the same, Mike, this is Mike. It's the same check and balance, and it's done internally here with the township, checking out the tax bill, whether it's under a 2% discount or whether it's the full value, face value. The staff here is checking out the receipt to each property and verifies the report that the county gives. They've got a very good track record on this so that their accountability has been, there have been no issues in the years past. And they've, again, with 20 plus municipalities that they're servicing. But there's really a double check and balance. They do it there at the county, and then the staff does it internally. Am I correct, Dave?
We haven't really looked at that yet.
Well, but you're essentially, you're getting a report from the county that says, Mike Lynch, here is the amount that
Yes.
was paid. And you're verifying that with your records that, yeah, Mike Lynch lives in the township, this is his property, and that is the
Yes.
amount paid that we have according to our
Yes,
millage.
yes, we got a very detailed file from them that we could verify.
So there is a check and balance system in place, Russ, to assure that. I guess it's the best I can answer for you.
No, that's a great answer. Thank you.
Thanks for your question, Russ.
we can really hear.
Yeah, we can hear him
Yeah.
nicely.
We really hear you.
I'm just curious, I'm gonna just do a quick sanity check. Can you all hear us in the room? Okay,
We
thank
have a
you.
new system.
It's a new
so-
system. We wanted to make sure the volume was right. Okay, so we have the bills to pay. So, board, do you have any questions regarding the bills?
I had just one. We had, I think this is batch 4, a 6-page, 5 maybe, Higgins, traffic light damage. I don't have the number in front of me. It was a pretty good number. It looked like, do we have a police report on it? Do we have a party that damaged it do we put it through to insurance? What's the status of that for any recovery?
Yeah, which page are you on, Mike? so
I
I make
believe it's
sure.
batch 4 of 6, page 5. Let's see if I marked it myself.
Yes, we have an active insurance claim on that.
Okay, good. That's all I have.
The turnback program on the state liquid fuel, is that a one-time,
Annual.
it's an annual one?
It is. Yeah. It's very small dollars.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, it's a
2,300.
small, it's only a portion. It's not even probably a,
$2,000 a mile, something like that.
yeah.
And so
about
it's
a
less
half
than a mile
Yeah.
for the whole township.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Mhm.
I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I'll move that we graciously accept the receipts and approve the expenditures as presented.
Thank you, David.
I'll second.
Okay, Cody, we'll give it to Cody this time. All right. So does anybody else on the board have any questions regarding the bills?
No.
Are there any questions in the audience regarding the bills? And on Zoom, do we have any questions regarding the bills? Does not appear to be any questions in the room or on Zoom. So I'm going to call the question. Those in favor of paying the bills? Aye. All right, moving along. Under old business, discussion on the Paley Pike alternate trail routes for segment B and their costs. So Derek, you want to summarize this for us?
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. Just get this here. Find it. There we go. I got it. Yeah. So at the last meeting, obviously well, I guess it was 2 meetings ago at this point, the board did consider, I guess at the time, we had 2 routes that we thought we were down to. There was basically both going away from the corporate center, around the corporate center, into specific areas along the boundaries of the Hicks property and the corporate center.
So we got to talking, and I think the conclusion came to, we really can't make any moves until we get some very rough, and I want to emphasize that, back of the envelope, as I think David emphasized at the meeting, we talked about it, back of the envelope cost analysis for those two. And then we decided to input back into it the corporate center route for our purposes to see the cost comparison. But you'll notice tonight we have 4 actual routes, because in digging into it a little bit more, we actually had 2 sort of proposals, because I know Mike was interested, possibly, if going through the corporate center, to make their our own trail rather than using the existing cartway in the grassy area. So I sort of have the corporate center broken down into 2 different routes to reflect that. The price difference is, sort of substantial, so I thought it was important to capture both. So, what we have here is essentially 4 cost analysis for each route of varying degrees. And I can just kind of briefly state what they are, but and again, as I keep emphasizing to the board, I would focus more on the differential of the costs versus the specifics of the numbers at this point, because these are, these can be very rough. So option C1, which is,
Excuse me.
yes,
Derek, is there any chance that this can be screen shared with our in-room participants and
yeah,
the Zoom room?
I can try to do something here. I was thinking about it, but at the same
Why
time,
don't
oh,
Dave-
okay.
Dave's working on it. Great. Perfect.
So again, the different routes we have here. So C1, which was more of the, I would describe as a nature trail going over and then up through the Hicks property. That was the most, I'm sorry, that was the second most expensive at 2.7 million roughly. Option C2, which was the most expensive, sort of meanders a little bit more into that property, covers a little bit more of the floodplain, so there's a little bit more of the boardwalk involved, estimated at 4 million. Option C3, which would be the one through the corporate center, but using a trail that we would build in some sort of grassy area, whether it be in the interior or out or exterior of Enterprise Drive. Not sure, but estimate would be roughly the same of 1.4 million. And then the cheapest option would be going through the corporate center and utilizing the existing cartway. They have it at 914,000. I did have a conversation with Pannoni, and they did emphasize, due to inflation and the fact that asphalt costs are going up on a weekly basis, that these numbers are probably already a little outdated based on that. But this, I think, gives you an idea at least of some of the scale of the 4 different options we have here. Again, one of them being a dual option of one of the corporate center routes or the other. So Dave got that up there, and
you build in some contingency, there's 20% contingency built in.
Correct.
these options.
Correct,
The general
yes.
Conditions, 10% added, so 30%, but these are extremely rough numbers. We're not even, we're a year or more, who knows, from bidding or anything else,
well,
to engineering, we're way from it.
and another important point that I do say in the memo is that we were not, the next, I think, talking to Jason, the next grant application cycle we could possibly get into will be sometime in the fall. And then there's a lot in winter 2023. So we would have some time. Obviously, we would need to, kind of like the dams, we would have to get an engineer on board to, get through that project with us. And I think after picking a route, that would probably be the next step. Sure.
The option C4, is that just the section on the road, or does that include all of,
That the whole.
that's the whole thing up through C? So
That is the whole thing. And that is just, and again, it's the cheapest because that whole C4 area in Enterprise Drive, you're utilizing existing cartway.
and it doesn't include the extension in front of Acero and over to the
No, the cost does include all that as well.
It does. The C4 includes,
Yeah, all of these options are if you would build the trail in its entirety. So
Okay.
they kind of merge at different points. Sorry, they kind of merge at different points, but yeah, it would cover the entirety of the trail.
so that section from B over in front of Acero across would be included in the C4 option.
Correct, yes,
Okay, thank you.
yes. And another important point is this is construction costs. So this is not engineering at all. So that's an important point as well.
Yes, it is. I'll share with my fellow board members, at this point in time, from what I've seen here, I'm leaning to either option C1 or option C3. That's where I've come out on it.
And I am actually leaning toward option C3 or C4. C3, C4, while it's the least expensive, I don't think that Nate really captured the area that I was still hoping he would capture for us. And so I think that there's still a little bit of cost savings that we could realize with C4. But what I'd like to consider is C4 so that we can have something that we can actually complete in a fairly timely manner. But then also with the option of the C3 option, like Mike suggested, I'd like it to have some engineering done as well, because I think that this could be an expansion that a future board could opt for. And if we've done the engineering and the stormwater management and whatnot, then a board could just walk in and get the easements and construct it. Or we could even acquire the easements at some point before we construct. And then that way, there would be a barrier between the walkers and bikers. And it would have more of a trail-like feel, but I want to do something sooner rather than later. And I hesitate to say that it's only $500,000 more to go C3, but you know, it's an option I think that could be considered for a future board to use as an improvement for this particular amenity.
Cody, John, David, how about your thoughts as we share this
Go back to
publicly?
back to my question about that section between the existing B and so C4 would not include that section. C1, the section in front of Acero and across Paoli Pike to over to the border of the Hicks property.
So, David, I'm sorry. I thought you were asking, I apologize, you're correct. I thought you were asking when it merges, does it include all that as well? Or does it just include, does that 900,000 just include the enterprise drive? So you're asking, would we finish out the entirety of the segment B up to the Hicks property? No, that numbers, that was not what was conceptualized here.
So my interest is.
Is your microphone on?
There you go.
Yeah, my option is, I like C3 because it does get off road in the park. But I like the idea actually created by this little loop of finishing the section that was originally planned in front of Acero over to the Hicks property. And that way people would have the option to continue over there and go up to the trail or use the business park trail as an option. So I would love to see that part of B finished that we already have engineered.
It also creates a mini loop.
Right.
Yeah, I'm of interest there. I think that's
Do we have a cost on that?
That was not, to do that little loop as they just spoke about. No, we don't have a cost on that.
So basically you take the C3 or C4 option and then add the cost of finishing half of B.
Well, half of B, David, and also the stretch that goes north-south.
Right.
Yeah, but yeah, it gets into money. What I'd like to see us do is either C3 or C4. and not say we'll never do the other part, but do the easiest, cheapest part now to get it done. And it will take a couple of years to do it, and then come back if we want to and recreate that smaller loop, or even consider C2, which is really, really expensive. That would be, that's the most scenic route. But it's at $4 million, it's, well, it's $4 million.
Very early on, we know how things escalate.
So obviously, this is the first time the board's seeing this. Is it worthwhile to think about it and put this on our next agenda item?
Let's hear from Cody.
Yeah,
Oh,
Cody.
sorry about that.
C3 is my favorite. I don't like necessarily C4. I don't want to go. I've never been a fan of the Enterprise Drive circle, the risk of someone getting hit. I've never been a fan of the traffic in and out of there. C3, I would love to obviously do the C1 or C2 if we had the money, but we obviously don't have the money for any of it. So C3 would be my favorite, and then potentially go down to C1 or C2, what you guys were talking about in the future. I think C3, get it done now, and then we can explore other options down the road.
So, so at this point, David, your first option would be C2. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And Mike, is that your first option as well?
No, my first option, and at this point in time, or my option, the option I would choose at this point in time, and hearing from the other comments, and respecting those, I would opt for C3 at this time moving forward.
Okay. And David, your first option would be C1? And do you have a second option or no? C3. It seems to me overwhelmingly, since I've written all this down, we're all kind of in the C3 option as our first or second choice. So I think that would be something that I could live with making that decision. And I think that that's something that we could consider. So what do you want us to do about this? We're just discussing this tonight? Sure.
We've engineered that C1, that second half. We've already sunk in that, so we're talking construction cost in that section. We have not engineered C3.
No, we haven't.
So we're gonna have
Engineering costs.
engineering costs in
Mhm.
C3 where we won't have it in portions, where we'll have modified what we have for section B. And that could be a significant.
But that's the engineering costs are. aren't
And
they
that's
in
something
this?
we don't know, how much money it would be. When maybe we ought to get a ballpark figure on that
On the-
before we.
On the engineering costs. And something else to consider though too, is that not necessarily all of the stormwater management has been done for segment C. And it's not, so the stormwater management has to be added to segment C,
We'd see.
all of C, any
We're-
part of C.
Either that or we request a waiver.
And we're not gonna get a waiver because it's.
I'm just
Yeah.
letting you know it's
Yeah.
an option.
Derek, quick question for you. How much would it cost to know how much it would cost to do?
Well, yeah, I
C3
mean,
and
this
then
is,
to combine it both? 'Cause
yeah,
he's right. We do have the engineering costs. What would be the cost to have the cost if we wanted to do the loop now? Can we ask for that?
I mean, we can ask for it, yeah. I mean, that would,
Would you have any ballpark with the cost?
we probably, I mean, again, that would just be construction, because as David said, we have.
I don't know,
mean,
just I think
not-
it'd be a nice compromise.
Yeah, not that engineering was done on this anyway, so we don't have engineering costs for any of it anyway, so it
I'd
would
be
just
open
be
to that.
something to go back to Pinoni and have them rework it for time and materials basis. Or and Mike had a good question, sort of what's next. We sort of throw that out to Pinoni, who we've been working with, our in-house engineer, and saying, you know, how much does that specific one cost? C3 combining with finishing that mini loop, or we can ask them for if it was just C3, I would say just go ahead and ask them for a formal proposal of, sort of like we did with Gannett Fleming with the dams, as far as how much is it to project manage this whole thing from start to finish? So
We need to know what the C3 engineering would be and construction.
The interesting thing about doing C1 is that you could do C1, and because C4 is already on existing cartways, you almost have that already done. I mean, all you'd have is that little connection to the parking lot at the top of C4 to get over to the C1 thing. So C1 has the benefit of actually, you still do the loop with it, with the existing cartway at C4.
We could, but we don't know what the construction cost is. We really ought to find those numbers before we make any decision.
I think what we have agreed on is that option 2 and option 4 are, we're kind of tossing them. So that's progress, I suppose, if
I
we're
think
going to
so.
try to get consensus.
I'm in favor of
What do you-
eliminating 2 and 4 and just working with 1 and 3 and see what we could do to potentially do the loop or whatever.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
I like that. I like that idea too. Is it
So-
something we can work with, Derek?
So just so I'm understanding it correctly, go back to Pinoni, kind of hone in on C3, particularly engineering costs, because we didn't get into that, but add in engineering and construction cost. Well, actually, we don't need engineering costs. Add in construction cost on finishing the loop frontage on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be good.
There actually might be slight engineering costs, David, because you're still going up a little bit out of
That's
the.
right.
so,
You
yeah,
you have the
so
northern jog.
Yeah.
there, So you need to
Is
do
that, is the board okay with what I just framed, how I framed
Yeah,
it? Okay.
yeah, I think that's progress. So from the board standpoint, I think we have some consensus.
Yep.
That's great. So.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so you have a direction then, we can
Sure.
look for some more information on
Yep.
that moving forward. Okay, and moving on then to the discussion on the current COVID-19 mask policy. Derek?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this is just really touching base with you all, because the CDC numbers at this point for Chester County, transmission levels have lowered per CDC guidance. I just implemented, as I say in the memo, mask optional internally. But again, just want to touch base with the board for meeting purposes. I don't see a lot of masks in there anyway, as I'm looking up. But again, since we're in a different environment, we were just 2 months ago, and this is an ever evolving thing. I just wanted to throw that out there and see if the board wanted to make that optional officially at meetings as well.
I'm good
comfortable.
with mask optional.
Okay.
As I am.
I'll make a note that 1,200 people a day are still dying of COVID, and COVID is still, it's become endemic, which only describes the place where it exists. In America, there are over 60 endemic viruses, bacteria, protozoans, and fungi that people die from. So I'm still wearing masks in public places, and somebody the other day asked me why I was wearing it and said, I haven't had the flu or a cold in 2 years. So it's.
Neither have I.
So washing your hands and wearing masks is helpful. So, but
I
I'm good
agree.
with making it optional.
I think we should make it optional as
Okay.
well.
I mean, we don't need a motion. I was just
That's fine.
trying for discussion purposes.
I'm glad you brought it up.
Yep.
Great. Moving on. to consider authorization for LED sign for both locations. Sorry about that. This considering authorization for LED sign repair for both locations at the Paley Pike Park and at the Paley Pike and Boot Road Triangle.
And this has been discussed prior with the board. And I want to thank Dan Truitt for his expertise and his second opinion and review of it. So pass it on.
I will. We tried. Boy, did we try.
So I'm supportive of this.
I am-
don't know how much detail you want to get into.
I just want to say that today, and I wanted to know how much new signs were, because I think that our residents need to know that this is a very expensive adventure.
Explain to what these
So,
are.
so these LED signs are all-weather signs, and they're informative to a certain extent,
And
I'm
they're
sure.
located.
They're located at the park and they're located at Bailey Pike and Boot Road. The triangle, we don't have signs in the southern part of the township. We only have them here in the northern part of the township, just FYI. And they cost about $60,000 to put in originally. That was the construction of the facade and the installation of the signs. And I found that a replacement for a similar sign today is direct from manufacturer, $21,250.
Come down in price somewhat, but still very expensive.
Well, the signs themselves, that was for the facade too. I don't know what the breakdown was of the facade and the sign before, but I know that the signs today, they're a lot fancier. They are really, really pretty, but they're also $21,250 for that's for one sign. So we'd need to have an outlay of about $45,000, and that doesn't include shipping or installation. It is a 5-year warranty. And so I think that we need to consider repairing the ones that we have, unfortunately.
If they fail completely and they're unrepairable in the future, then that'll be figure out if it's a worthwhile expenditure. And that could be survey time. You never know.
Oh, you're starting me up here, Mike. This is a question of expectations. If we didn't
Board
have,
wants to know.
if we didn't have the signs, probably nobody would say get them. But now that we have them, people expect them and we have to keep them up. And,
Some
and,
people do.
oh yeah, well, you'd hear it if we got rid of them entirely. And that's,
I'll make the motion to authorize the repair of the East Goshen and method as outlined in the memo, the cost being roughly $7,350.
I'll second that.
Thank you, gentlemen. So are there any questions from the board for Derek or Dave?
Nope, I'll leave it in their hands.
Do you have any questions now? Does the public have any input regarding these signs here in the room?
Anybody like the signs? Anybody
Yeah.
not like the signs?
Yeah.
Anybody even know we have signs? We want to know.
So we're gonna have a gentleman come on up, and if there are any Zoom participants, please raise your hand.
Robert Plummer, 1339 Park Avenue. Is there a way we can get a sign on our side of the township or no?
Well, that's for $21,250. It's something.
Well,
we
why
have
is
to
the side
budget
of
for.
favor for the trail and the signs and we have zero?
Mhm.
Fair
Is there
question.
any reason for that or? I mean,
Very fair question. And
But-
maybe we need more than 2 signs, more than 3, maybe we need them.
but if we, instead of repairing one, why don't we just buy the new one for our side and let them roll? I mean, that's the way I'm doing it.
because the other two don't work, that's why.
Ours doesn't either.
There you go.
There you go.
All right.
No, I'll give you my opinion as one as one
We don't have a
resident.
trail or signs.
I'm not
so
interested in
we're
any of
good.
the signs. I don't think that they're absolutely necessary with the other medium of communications that we have. And the township is easily accessible, whether web or stopping in. The information that's on there is, this is me. This is me speaking as a citizen and a resident. I don't think the signs are of great value added.
I agree. I mean,
I like the signs.
but
And
we
as your,
have
na-
them, but
yeah, and as your neighbor, I also recognize the fact that I feel like the southern portion of the township, I don't want to use the word gets neglected, but
Right.
we don't have, and I think that we have some stuff on the agenda tonight that will be able to address that, and then
Okay.
we can get some stuff down on our side too.
Something like
All right,
on
thank you.
Westchester Pike we could put
Yeah.
on it.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
because of.
Absolutely.
You know, like the fair
Somewhere
time,
down
we could
Middletown
get
area.
have some- All right.
And
Friends of East Goshen- Friends of East Goshen.
here we go. Are there any other questions from the audience here in person? Are there any Zoom participants who have their hand raised? Okay, so I'm going to call the question. Those in favor of repairing the signs, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks,
Okay.
Derek. Thanks.
Thank you for your input, Mr. Plummer. We're going to talk about advertisement for a change to the township's peddling and soliciting ordinance.
It's kind of minor. I think there's very little
Yeah.
to do with it. It makes
Oh.
sense.
Thank
Derek?
you, Madam Chair. So this is sort of an administrative initiative, if you will. We got a complaint about a peddling and soliciting incident, whereas somebody, salesman, where it was ignoring the do not knock or do not call lists, which we have here internally at East Goshen. So in looking at the soliciting ordinance that we have in place, I didn't feel like the language gave me enough teeth to actually reprimand the person for repeat offenses. So as you'll see here, it's sort of a language tweak in order to emphasize that rules of conduct and the do not call registry, and making sure that the participants in this program, salespeople, will actually obey the township soliciting ordinance. So as Mike said, it's pretty straightforward, but I am open to comments from the board.
I was going to say, I want everybody to understand that when we say peddling and soliciting, it has nothing to do with bicycles and women in the evening. It has to do with.
That was my line. I'm the one that says.
All right, all right. Otherwise, I think it's a good amendment.
Madam Chair, I'll move to authorize the advertisement of an amendment to chapter 169 of these
put down.
ordinance titled peddling and soliciting, in order to authorize the revocation of a peddling and soliciting license for failure to abide by the township's do not knock, do not call list.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Are there any comments or additions from the board?
My only comment is more administrative. Of course, we have to advertise this and then conduct a public hearing. Is there any efficiency, Derek, on a smaller administrative public hearing like this, that we wait and piggyback it with another one, so that at the same time we have it with our solicitor and they're all here at one time instead of bringing them in?
Great idea.
So we do have a couple of other ordinances I would like to bring up. So we can wait until we go around them all. And then after we get them all, because I don't want to advertise without bringing it to the board for comments, obviously. So once we get the board to get a first pass at all of them, then we can see which ones we can break up together.
I'll leave it to you. It's just something I thought.
No, I would agree with that.
I'd like to actually see that there are a couple of steps in the process. I can excuse one error. And I'd like to see that we have a first offense, that the licensee gets a written warning that says, don't do that again. And their company that they're soliciting for also gets that written warning, says, hey, this guy knocked on the door that he should have knocked on. Second offense is a written notice that the licensee has been revoked. The license has been revoked for the licensee and the company he or she represents. And I think that we need to have a limit on it for no more than, I don't know, maybe 2 years. That way they can come back into the township if they wanted to.
Derek,
I don't
question,
know.
point of order,
Sounds reasonable.
point of order. Do we have to rewrite this? If we?
You would just need to amend the motion.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
A friendly amendment. essentially.
Correct.
I would just like to see that there's, I don't want to necessarily stomp on all of the rights of people to knock on a door.
So just to
It's kind of progressive discipline, if you will, no different than a personnel policy.
So one would be a written warning and two would be you're out of here for 2 years.
I'm good with that.
Yeah,
Okay.
2 years.
2 years for them and their company. And what do you think, David?
I just have a question. Are we getting rid of a permit or are we getting rid of a license? So in other words, if we warned them and took away their permit, could they come back 2 weeks and get another solicitation permit? I'm questioning the 2 year.
Oh, okay. That person can, the way I would like it worded is so that the person who's requested the permit is not permitted for a minimum of 2 years.
So that would be much more.
Oh, so it's not the company per se.
And the
it's
company. Oh, and the
Yeah.
company.
Oh,
Because the person who requests the permit could be looking at a different company and come into the township, and we'll have to say, sorry, you have another 6 months left on your do not knock list.
You're putting
Violation.
You're giving them a first chance, but then you're giving them a hammer of 2 years on the other end.
Do you think we
basically.
should do third offense? It's up to you.
No, I don't think we need to do 1, 2, and 3. I was just curious if somebody comes, if I'm soliciting for a company, I come to the township, I ask for a permit, you give me the ID and I go out. And if I knock on a no knock, and then you revoke my card, can I come back next week and say, hey, sorry about that, I won't do that again? Can I have a permit to solicit in the neighborhood?
Not if it's this, I mean, the way Michelle's phrasing it, not the second offense.
Well, that's what I'm saying is the way we have it phrased now.
Oh, okay.
Could somebody come back a week later and just, get another permit to,
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying.
Question.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So there's not a time limit or that's not clarified in the rewrite here.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So you want to do it the way Michelle voiced it.
I don't care if it's 2 years or if it's 1 year. I just want to make sure that they are penalized to the point where the company also realizes that they cannot come into the township for that period of time. And I'm fine with that. I'm okay with, I think it's a good hammer too. I think a year is acceptable. So I would offer a friendly amendment to add these steps for a first offense as a written warning to both the person who has requested the permit and their company, stating that they have made an error to watch their Ps and Qs. The second offense is the written notice that the permit has been revoked for both the permittee and the company that they represent for a period of 1 year from the time of the offense. Thank you. All right, anybody else have any comments? Okay, are there any comments in the room?
Let me ask a question first.
Sure.
Derek, when a party comes to obtain a solicitor's permit, are they handed the list?
Yes.
So
Yep.
they're given that.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one I want to put out there is, as a resident, what does a resident need to do to be on that no-knock list if they want to be protected from those kind of calls as well? What does someone out here who's interested to do that need to do?
It is our personal list, so just contact the township, call the
So
township.
put us on the list, and
Correct, and Amanda will do that.
might be nice to put that on our website and say, if you want to no-knock, but freshen it up. Okay.
That's a good idea.
Thank you.
Maybe we can put that in the newsletter as well. There are no questions in the room. And for Russ, I believe your hand is up.
You're on
Yes.
mute, Russ.
Yes.
What's your question?
Is this really still a big problem in the township?
Only when you get a call from a resident who is you.
Well, the reason why I'm asking that is because when I'm approached by somebody who doesn't have the badge, I immediately tell them they're not allowed to do that and go away.
Good.
But I mean, how many
Yeah.
people actually?
Well, this
do
was
that?
the opposite. This wasn't a person that didn't have a badge. It was a person that, according to the resident, ignored the list that he was on. So I would say, Russ, I haven't seen it a lot since I've been here, but to Mike's point, people do get very upset when they're on that list. They take the time to be on that list, and then that it is ignored in their opinion.
Right.
Whether it was an
and
honest
I'm on
mistake.
that list as well. That's why when they do knock on my door, I get very stern with them. But I
Yeah.
mean, isn't it more of a individual resident's responsibility if they are on the list to confront it that way versus going through all this stuff about giving a fine out and all that?
I think some people are different than others. Some people don't want to be as confrontational.
Okay.
Particularly nowadays, you never know. So
Right.
Who want to separate themselves with another entity who is overseeing things, and they don't want any part of it, but they've given notice and they want that respected and they want that service provided to them. We can see that throughout our society with various things for us. So
Well, and especially now with COVID, a lot of people
that's another
don't
part of
want
it,
a
too.
stranger coming up to their door with
Right.
COVID.
All
To be
right,
clear,
thanks.
this will not, thanks, Russ. And to be
Thanks,
clear, this will not affect your right to knock on a door for political or religious reasons. So that's not part of this.
Won't affect
So-
your taxes either.
It won't affect your taxes. That's right. All right, so I'm going to call the question. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Moving on to another new bit of business. So it's not really new business, it's actually old business, but here we go. Derek, do you want to talk about the Middletown Dam Project?
Yep, thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
So, I guess there was some conversation a couple weeks ago at the Planning Commission about wanting a more solid update as a neighborhood on the Middletown Dam Project. I can tell you a little bit of background since I've been here as manager for 8 months or so. The status has essentially been the same, and that is frustrating for me. But the permit for DEP Dam Safety is the outstanding permit that we are waiting on. So I had a memo drafted from our Gannett Fleming engineer, Eric Neese. He kind of outlined here, it's important to understand we're just in the permit stage right now. So no construction at this point can actually take place. But we're good to go with the Chester County Conservation District. We're good to go with FEMA and the conditional letter of map revision. We are good to go with the Army Corps of Engineers. The only thing we're waiting on is Division of Dam Safety. I have experience with them in my previous position where we waited for a permit for 4 years. The good news is in conversations, and I talk to our engineer weekly on this matter. The good news is we think we're pretty close in our conversations with DEP to have an actual permit in hand relatively soon. He was estimating mid-April. That would complete all the permit part of this project.
Great.
From there, my plan, well, not my plan, this was what was planned, but we are going to have to get the bidding documents ready to go to bid out for construction. Obviously, we, as a second-class township, need to take the low bidder. Part of that bidding process, I'm having the engineers insert into the language in the bid to have a town hall in the beginning of the project for the residents to ask the particular contractor any questions. I don't think it's helpful to have a town hall prior to that because I think you want the contractor that's going to actually have the boots on the ground and doing the work over there to be able to be present for questions in conjunction with our engineer. I did have a couple of board members express to me over the last couple of weeks, perhaps sending out a letter, kind of giving this overall update to the neighborhood. But the bottom line is the project has been the same since I've been here. There's been no changes to the overall project or design or anything like that. It's just a matter of, again, I hate to, beat a dead horse, but we're still waiting on this permit from DEP.
So the
that's
township per se is not holding this up directly. We're waiting for the external agencies to be able to
Yeah.
move forward this project.
we're down to one agency.
Yeah,
But yeah.
okay.
Yep. And but everybody else was pretty good. I mean, the conditional letter of map revision was done in the fall. Chester County Conservation District was done in the fall. I think January or beginning of February is when the Army Corps came in and the Army Corps gave us the go ahead pending the DEP outcome. So they said, you guys can go ahead as long as DEP gets you their permit, which they haven't yet. So we're in pretty good shape for all the permits. I still think we're in pretty good shape with DEP. And so, I don't have a construction start date at this point, but I'm hopeful for, end of summer, but
Okay, so then I have a couple questions real quick. So I think that we need to direct you to send a letter out, if I'm not mistaken, then.
Some board members have individually expressed
Okay.
interest in that over the last
Okay.
couple of weeks. So if you as a board would like me to send a letter to residents, and the gist of it could be the discussion tonight,
Right.
absolutely, but
Okay.
we can include, yes, correct.
The other thing is, so you'll expect, we're hopeful that we're gonna get this permit by mid-April.
Yes.
And so once we've gotten the permit, how long will it take to get the bids out, the bid request out the door? Because is there any chance we can possibly have them prepared so that when we get the bids, when we get the permit, we can get those bids right out after the next meeting?
I have to follow up on our engineer, but I was going to say 2 months. You read my mind. The bidding documents are not easy to get together. They have to have a lot of legal review. Sorry. I can talk to our engineer and I'll ask flat out, what's the quickest we can get this one? And when we have permit in hand, what's the quickest we can get the bid documents out? Obviously that's
And how long will it take for us to get bids? 30 days?
45.
Usually it's a 45, I would say, day process from putting the bids out there to bid opening. Some larger projects can be 60. This is a larger project than Hershey's Mill Dam, for sure. So I have to consult with Gannett Fleming and see what they think is appropriate for this kind of contractor. Because you have to realize that the contractor, in order to put this bid together, has a lot of work to do on their end as well, and we want to get the best bid possible. So,
And the other thing I wanted to share, Michelle, and we've kind of talked about this amongst ourselves as, as we shared on this project, the bid documents, I for one, I think there's going to be consensus on the board. We want to make sure the bid documents are set up that there is a menu of options because of the potential cost of this. So that when we see, when you look at the illustration for what was originally prepared for this Middletown Dam Park project, it's a beautiful illustration that shows a lot of things going on, separate ponds, this kind of a, little fishing pier and this and that and that. And over time, as we know, these long-term projects, the escalation of costs goes up and you do hit a limit. So we want, I know I, for one, with bid documents, want to make sure we have a menu of options so that when we get the real numbers coming in, and we look at what our financial picture is, we can say, sorry, we're going to have to put this particular element on the back burner. We're not going to accept that option. We'll accept these options, et cetera. So I think that's going to take some conversation with us. John, you kind of, because cost is just like what we went through with this trail. We'll be in for some real surprises there as that
Now-
really starts to get sharpened.
Dave can speak to this a little bit more as well, but I think when you look at all the infrastructure projects we either have going on or wanting to embark on, when it comes to the financial piece of it, we are in the best shape with the Middletown Dam Project, particularly because we've had, we already have a grant process in place for this. We keep extending it. Susan's doing a great job keeping up with that. We have bond money. As you are alluding to, inflation is just killing all those numbers that everybody had 3 years ago. But we are in better financial shape for this infrastructure project than I think, some of the other ones we're talking about.
But that's going to be a conversation. So I think it's good to get the update out. I'm sure there's probably going to be comments from residents or questions at this point in time. Sure.
Can I make a quick comment? So we're expecting an answer from DEP within the next 3 to 4 weeks. I'm all for sending out a letter and keeping residents informed, but we're also gonna have to send a letter afterwards, which I'm totally fine with. As a resident who's near there, I would rather get a letter saying a victory celebration that we finally got the permits done, and then be able to schedule, be like, okay, we're done with the permits. And then we plan on having a town hall in the near. We plan on having a town hall in the near time in your neck of the woods, and we want your feedback.
And that, Cody, play off of that a little bit. That's when I had suggested that for these long-term, let's call them township improvement projects, parks, infrastructure, where there's an interested resident population, either immediate proximate or just generally because of the scale or scope of the improvements, that we have establish a page on our website for larger projects, and the staff can give an update monthly if there's something that just says no update. And that way that serves and people have access to it. And there's an information exchange and transparency of what's going on.
Well, we also have a newsletter going out sometime tomorrow or the next day. So we could actually make a quick, come up with a quick paragraph on the Middletown Dam update. And at least that way we can get the information out there. And then like Cody said, once we get that permit, we can say, huzzah, here we go.
Didn't
Okay.
you say that, Jason? You mentioned that the other day when we were talking?
Yeah, I think the language works because I'm remembering the
good.
language.
All right, so
Yeah.
you guys already picked up on it.
Yeah.
Good. I just think there's a growing frustration among the area. So I feel like if we send out a letter out saying still nothing, people are going to continue to be frustrated, which they should be. So
Wait a minute, we're gonna send it out and we're gonna say it's not our fault. It's DEP.
Well, we can discuss that. Cody's suggestion. Or...
You want me to talk about cost a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah, why don't you do that?
If nothing changed right now and the current estimate holds, it would be a total cost from beginning to end, including what we've already paid, of $2.85 million. We've already spent about $500,000, and we would fund the rest of this through $1.5 million from bond money that we have. And then about a little over 900,000 in grant money. So that would fully fund it. The grant money and the bond money would fully fund it. Now we need to see what the bids would be.
Dave,
Value of having the option menu to say, we want to keep the budget or we want to extend it, find other sources.
does that have a 20% build in or anything like that? Or are we going to be subject to escalating costs?
I think we're going to be subject to some escalating costs.
Okay.
Any other questions from the board? All right, then moving on to consider advertisement for change to the township's rental occupancy. Oh, yes, we'll absolutely have discussion on that as soon as we get to the public comment. We're just going to go. I'm sorry? But we had to vote on that. This is not a voting matter. I'm sorry. Again, we'll come back to it at the public comment, but because we are not voting on anything regarding Middletown Dam, that'll come under public comment. Thank you. Consider advertisement for change to the township's rental occupancy reports. It's an ordinance change.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Real quick again, this is again another, I would say, administrative initiative when I was looking at ordinances. We're doing it twice a year as far as making homeowners update rental registrations. There seems to be, I would say, in residents, as Amanda has told me, some frustration that they have to do it twice a year. By the time they get their third notice, if they forget, they're already getting the notice that it's due again. It's also a little bit of an administrative headache for us on our side. So I think it's redundant to do it twice a year. So I propose here in the board that we really limit it to once a year rental registration, and doing it in June 30th to me was best because of everything that's going on December 31st, end of year. So again, another kind of simple change, but I think an important one from an administrative,
I'm
Board
amenable to
perspective,
that,
yeah.
so I'll leave it to the rest of the board. I think it's smart, reasonable.
I have a couple questions about it, though. So my understanding is this actually started back with Berkheimer and Keystone reporting for the EIT. And so there's a chance that, is there a chance that asking for the update once a year can change our EIT situation? Will we miss some of the EIT that we should have been perhaps entitled
It's
to?
possible some, but I would estimate very small,
Very small?
very unlikely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there any chance somebody can talk to Keystone about this and?
Yeah, I can talk to Rose.
we can do that.
That would be great.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She's good.
Did you want to table this then, or?
Well, another thing that I'm.
comment,
ahead.
Dave, the dates are in here, June 30th and December 31st. Is there a time when it would be preferable to your function that this be done?
June 30th.
June 30th, okay.
We still have a little bit of time to make changes to this before we hit the June 30th.
Well, we were going to do it in June 30th regardless, so we have a
Right.
lot of time. There's no timeline to this really. It's
Okay.
just a matter of wanting to get it done. Yeah. But we were gonna, if the board would have been amenable to this, we would have.
You want to do it?
You want to do it? yeah.
So I would be open then to hearing a motion.
Madam Chair, I move we authorize advertisement to amend Chapter 182 of the East Goshen Township Code of Ordinances titled Rental Occupancy Reports in order to reduce the required reporting from semi-annually to annually.
Second the motion.
Thank you. Board discussion. So I'm going to throw, less government. I like that. I'd like to throw out an idea that perhaps we could look at single-family dwelling rental units separately as an exception, perhaps requiring notice given only when the tenants have changed. Because in the single-family dwellings, it's not usually a lot of movement. People usually settle into a house for a few years at a time. And so it would be an exception to allow the landlord to notify us only when their tenants change. only for single-family dwellings. And
The
the reason-
reason,
the
the reason
reason-
we have this is so we can collect the earned income tax.
Correct.
And I apologize for talking about a tax, but you heard the $2.85 million that we need for the Middletown Dam. So we've got to collect taxes. Dave,
Does,
how is it best?
I would think we would want to get everybody at least once a year.
that's what I was thinking, and administratively, it just.
People's positions would
Uniformity,
change.
That's fine. Okay. Okay, all right, so I will then just ask if anybody in the audience has any questions regarding this change in the ordinance and the advertisement of such Zoom. Any questions there? And no? All right, so.
The only question I have, sorry, would this be considered enough to bunch together, do you think, Mike, or do you want a couple more with it?
I'll leave it to your judgment.
Okay.
Derek.
Okay.
All right.
I'll leave it to you.
Thanks.
It talks about efficiency, but put the burden on you.
All right, then I'm going to call the question that we move to authorize the advertisement to amend chapter 182 of the East Goshen Township Code regarding rental occupancy reports. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. And moving on to the discussion regarding away meetings for the board.
But nice idea. I mean, I'm amenable to it. If you wanted to set it up and it's fine. I mean, we can go to different place, Hershey's Mill or down to the Goshen Valley or whatever, if they're amenable and we kind of go on the circuit a little bit. That could be.
I think this year we might only be able to do it once. So when John and I came on board in 2020, I suggested that perhaps we should take our show on the road, if you will, and actually come into the different communities within our township. And one of the first places I'd really like to go would be to potentially the Goshen Fire Department, because that would be a larger gathering place and really go after those condo owners and renters in the apartments and the condominium facilities, the folks in Middletown area, Middletown Dam area, up in by the fire department, Park Avenue. So we really want to engage those residents, all of you, to come in and tell us what is important to you. So that's what we're talking about. So
And we can do that now.
we can't
in the
quite,
same format for new
we
audio
can't quite do
visual?
it this
We
way.
can't quite do it. Okay,
No.
I thought we might have been able to.
So one of the, this is all for just this room. One of the grant, as you know, we applied for 4 different grants for the local sharing account. One of them was a mobile audio visual equipment. And we did submit that today. Thanks, Jason, for all the hard work on those grants, side note.
Yeah, I know you.
So that would be able to give us some ability there. We don't have great ability. There's nothing legally that says we had to record it. One idea I had as a stopgap, because we're not going to find out if we get the grant till November. So by the time it's a usable product, it would be next year. So, I mean, I can look into a really high def tape recorder and we can kind of do an audio version, sort of like Westchester Borough, has done with their meetings. But right now, no, we don't have a good way to capture it.
And we might end up doing one of the villages, Hershey's Mill.
Sure.
I mean, if they've got the Hershey's Mill TV arrangement there.
They
can
do.
Broadcast to their immediate population but residents at large can still come into the meeting. They
Sure.
get a chance to see Hershey's Mill there. But yeah,
Maybe-
I'm open to it.
Maybe we ought to check with the fire department before we say we can't do it.
Well,
Oh, sure.
that's something that
Logistically,
we have to absolutely do. And maybe Jason would be able to find a young filmmaker who might be willing to come in with their video equipment and help us out for that one meeting.
I'm ready for my close-up, Jason.
I'm not.
So David, do you like the idea of going out into the community?
I am ambivalent about it.
So would you like me to get some maybe working dates from Goshen Fire on what would be
Well,
best? Or
I think it makes sense to maybe think about something like that, maybe for June. Do you think we would have a good update for Middletown Dam residents along that, in that time frame, end of June even?
So I think we'll have an update before then. I'm trying to think, do we time it where we want to just have the town hall I was speaking about piggyback off a regular meeting and have that as an agenda item where the contractor would show up with Gannett Fleming and answer questions. So we'll definitely have an update before then, but as far as when the best timing would be, as far as what's the best time, as far as the best update, that would be, that's an open-ended question.
Let me make sure I'm understanding correctly. Take the meetings on the road. We would just be taking our whatever that week's agenda is on the road. It wouldn't be just a town forum to just talk.
No,
That's a
but maybe-
different, that's a different animal.
Yeah, regular
yeah,
meeting, but
that's what I
maybe
thought.
have a couple of agenda items that are pertinent to those particular residents that we are trying to target. Yeah. Yeah. All right, what do you think, Cody?
I'm for it. I don't know if I want to create a staff headache if we don't have the other technology.
Well, it's not a staff headache. If we don't have it, we don't have it.
Okay,
We
then
just
I'm
do
okay
the
with it
meeting.
I like
We-
I like the idea of being able to do it, but I just want to create a headache of having to buy a camera and all this other stuff. So
I agree with you on that. Okay, and so the last business portion of the meeting is consider stormwater agreement for 100 Traymore Circle.
Madam Chair, I'll move the
Great.
board authorize the chair to sign Traymore Circle as recommended by the county.
I'll second that.
Thank you. This is for a swimming pool, and it's an in-ground swimming pool. And as per the code requirement, anything over 500 square feet requires an operational operation and management agreement. This swimming pool will have an underground bed.
How
Yeah.
did you find all that out?
I called Mark Gordon.
Would it be better if Mark Gordon put that in the recommendation to us?
Exactly what I was going to ask Derek.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Can we moving forward have some more information regarding stormwater management, what the project is, about how big it is?
Little
A little
summary of the
summary
project.
and maybe a sketch.
Paragraph, yeah.
Yeah, I
maybe a
mean,
sketch of it.
my previous life, what we used to do with stormwater agreements, we showed the actual plan on the agenda. Albeit it was a, 8x11. So sometimes in engineering plans, it can get a little bit small. But I mean, we can add a page synopsis, half-page synopsis with the actual engineering plan in the actual agenda, if that board would be amenable to
Yeah.
that.
And of course, remember, these aren't development proposals. The development's already occurred. It's just simply
Right.
putting in place this administrative document for
Yep.
future monitoring. So it's just the final, it's the capstone to ensure the ongoing care of that particular facility that's unique to that particular
And
pool or that accessory.
This
use somehow.
specific plan does have the simplified approach, as many smaller properties do for stormwater management, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, if that's something the board would like, then we can start doing that.
Yes, please make it so. Any other comments from the board regarding this plan? Are there any comments from the audience in front of us? No? And are there any questions regarding the stormwater management from Zoom? Seeing none, I'm going to call the question. Those in favor of this stormwater management plan? Aye. Thank you very much. And under any other matter, we have the Friends of East Goshen report here, just a quick overview. Jason, do you want to talk about this real quick, or do you want me to pass the memo to you? I'll pass the memo to you. I don't need it back. Thank you. Yes, please.
So for the audience, the Friends of East Goshen is the 501c3 nonprofit that works very closely with East Goshen Parks and Rec to put off community events like Community Day. So they financially support the fireworks. They pay for most of those events so that as taxpayers, the public can come to it for free and not have to spend a dime and enjoy the park free of charge. So basically once per year, they come before the board and they put together their campaign for that year of how they're going to raise funds for Community Day and for a few other events. We have a few new members of Friends of East Goshen who are new residents, a couple of young kids at East Goshen Elementary, and they want to kind of give back to the community. They came from Delaware County, moved out here, fell in love with it, and go to the park. And two young moms said, we just really want to. We love the park, we love the events, and now we want to take our turn to kind of give back. So April 1st is the campaign kicking off for Community Day. So they reach out to the businesses, individuals, corporations, and they typically raise $25,000 to $30,000 to offset the cost for that event. They have two other kind of really neat initiatives last year. They did a snow meet and greet with a live reindeer over at the blacksmith shop, which was really, really awesome to see. We had 150 kids. It sold out like in 30 minutes. And it was just a really memorable, magical moment for the kids to get to touch a live reindeer with mom and dad, take pictures. And there are elves and Santa and all that kind of cool stuff. And that was a fundraiser to offset park costs. So they'll be doing that again this year in December. And then the newest initiative that they have is every year we do a film festival at the movie Tavern Exton for teenagers. So teenagers all across the Westchester area submit films to myself and to the committee. There are official selections. We have a limo that picks up the kids, drives them over to Exton. It's awesome. Red carpet. They get to see their live films on the big screen, which is mind blowing for a teenager. Like I could not imagine doing that when I was 15, 16. Super cool experience. So for this year, the really neat thing that Friends is doing is the film festival has become global because everything is so digital. So we get films from Ukraine every single year. So this year, they're adding a live component where general audience tickets will be a fundraiser, and approximately $250 to $500 are going to go to a Ukrainian filmmaker. So it's going to be really cool, very exciting. And Friends is just excited about another cool year in the park.
Thank you, Jason. Does any of the board members have any other matter to discuss? David, Mike,
No.
Cody, John? Before we go on to public comment, I'm just going to officially state for the record, going out of order, there are no liaison reports. There is no correspondence or reports of interest at this point. And I'm going to open it up to public comment at this time. So if anybody has a public comment or question, please come up to the podium. We'd like you to state your name and address and have at it.
I'm Eddie Decker, 40 Lockwood Lane. I sit on the Planning Commission as well as the Business Park Task Force, I guess formerly Business Park Task Force. Derek, thanks for the update. Sorry about that. No, I'll just lean down. A little casual here. Derek, thank you for the update. I will say, after every Planning Commission and Business Park Task Force meeting, I ask for an update on the Middletown Dam. Up until now, it has been construction to start spring of 2022. To say there's been no change is a little misleading. At the most recent Planning Commission meeting, I was informed that there's still to be another lowering of the dam. So I think there's more than just waiting on another permit, correct? One more lowering to occur and the removal of the tower.
From the, correct, but that was the original plan since I've been here. If that changed, and that was before my time.
I
so-
believe that's a change,
Okay.
considering construction was actually supposed to start spring of 2021.
If that was a change, I wasn't aware of that was an actual change.
So
to
that's,
the project.
the other thing I was informed of was I was told that construction was still years away. I think today we've been told, kind of leaning towards maybe a year at most. Sounds like a couple months to get permitting and bids, but I was told years at the beginning of this month. So just try and keep that in mind in your head when you're thinking of timing, and we're starting to see these letters that we're still probably years off from, based on the information that was shared with me.
Ed,
in the meeting.
where did you get the information that it was going to be years away?
It was Mike Lynch and Mark. I believe it was from Mark also. So, yeah, Mark Gordon. So I don't want to call them
Years,
out on.
years away is a,
That's an open.
that's, yeah, I don't believe that. To just start the construction?
Or started construction years away.
I think that's inaccurate.
I don't.
I'm just sharing what was
Unless
shared
there,
with me.
unless dam safety has information I don't have, and that's highly inaccurate.
Fomented some of that too, because I didn't have the update as well. And I know you were very concerned.
I wasn't, yeah.
No, I was sharing my general understanding of some of these projects without having the benefit of the Gannett plumbing update that we have now. So, Ed, we're much better than I thought we were last.
So we're still a year, not years, right?
If we
Sounds
don't,
good to me.
honestly, if we don't start construction by the end of the year, I'll be disappointed. I mean,
Okay.
I'm not saying
If
it's
you're-
not possible, but that's my goal. I would love to have this done in the end of the year.
Because the dam lowering started in June of 2017. So you said you've been waiting, you waited up to 4 years for DEP permits.
Well,
Been
not,
over 4 years now. I understand COVID.
yeah, and this was a completely different project and a completely different scope, but I'm just saying they are slow moving division of E DEP.
7 years.
Yeah.
In this June. So that's a long time to wait. I would also like to add, my house does back up to the former reservoir. It's a swamp. It's a complete and total mud pit. I would invite any of the board members to come out, come to my backyard, take a look at it, see how awful it is. I would also like to invite you to come out in, say, June, July, August, and enjoy the mosquitoes due to the stagnant water. The smell that's back there is absolutely putrid. It's awful. It's a mess. It is an absolute mess, and it's been that way for years now. So I think we're all kind of tired of waiting and would like to see some movement on this. So
Ed, those are good comments, and I think I would ask Derek to, I would ask Derek to speak with Mark Miller to see whether there's anything we can do in this interim period, whether it has to do with, for instance, some of the ponds we spray with material to keep down algae and things like that, whether there's something we can do to mitigate some of these conditions that Ed's describing in this interim. I know you expressed frustration. There was a community cleanup and nobody showed up. I was not aware of it. I know I've been over there to collect litter myself. And I haven't been over there for about a year, but I've been over there to collect litter. But if there's something we can do to mitigate in the meantime, and Ed's a member of the Planning Commission, and we can communicate directly with him as a reference to his neighborhood, and someone you can share as well. Let's see if there's something we can do to see what we can do in the interim period. I don't know what it would be, Ed, but we'll see. I appreciate the comments. What else can I tell you?
Oh, it's not on. Mark Miller is ready to go, but until DEP, I'm sure you all realize that's Department of Environmental Protection. They swing a lot of weight in Harrisburg, unfortunately.
7 years is still 7 years,
Yeah,
right? So
yes.
when were those permits, just out of curiosity, when were the DEP permits submitted? Do we know?
I don't know the exact date. They were submitted before I was manager.
Okay. So we don't know how long we've been actually waiting on, they've been sitting on these permits.
I have to be honest with you, I feel like it was even before John and I came along.
Oh, it was. It was.
So
And we've been here over 2 years.
it's been,
It was
2020.
before I was on the board. It was
Okay.
under discussion. So I get it.
I got,
What I don't get is the frustration you have relative to you living there and I don't. So I don't see that and I don't smell it. I don't get bit by mosquitoes. So I'm respectful of that. And that's why I say if there's something we can do to
Right.
mitigate it in the interim, whether it's spraying, whatever, I don't know what it could be, but let's see if we can address some of those concerns.
There are things that you can do for mosquitoes. And says the Israeliensis, the little donuts that you throw in the water, as long as they're not washed over the dam, they're very helpful. Mark Miller is the guy we'll have to talk to about that.
So, and then we have you to be able to contact. We'll see you regularly at the planning commission meetings, of course.
so I apologize.
I don't know if I've agreed to that.
You're smiling so good. I appreciate it. Thanks, Ed.
I'm already forgetting. Did we decide to go with Cody's suggestion and wait so that we get the permit hand and send letters, or we just send the letters out?
We decided to wait until
We
we
get
get the permit.
permits. Okay.
Say-
But
So we would say we got,
we have, can we have a plan of action though? Let's say, I mean, if, let's say it's March and April and there's nothing done, like John
Sure.
Kane, Diane Herron, our state rep, state senator, like, let's put some pressure on these people. I don't-
yeah, that's a valid point. I think it's worth doing at that point. I will say, I think DEP is the most politically insulated place in Harrisburg, but I don't think it's a bad idea at that point. Yeah. I could put this as a standing agenda too, item.
That's good.
Oh, I like that.
And then I think Ed's an example, if someone wants to know about those things and your fellow neighbors. So I think it's a good idea. How about some other questions, other comments, folks, on this matter? Yeah, come on up.
Come on
Speak
up.
up. Say hello.
You've got to speak into the mic. Ed had it reach down. You might have to pull it toward you a little bit. Please state your name and address.
My name is Ave Kane, and I live at 1345 Park Avenue. And we have been residents here since 73, and it's a lovely township. We hated to see the reservoir go. We loved it, but it happened. It's in the past. But I would love to see everything be beautiful, and it happens as soon as possible. It has been very hard the last couple of years. I don't live as close as Ed does. I live on Park Avenue. I'm the second house from the reservoir. And I cannot sit outside and enjoy my flowers, water anything, admire the birds, even have people over for a barbecue. As soon as we try, we start getting bit and we're running in the house. Like,
Okay.
again.
All right. That's good to know.
And I don't agree with people saying, oh, well, we should just spray for mosquitoes, because that's not good for people or birds
Well, I was
or
waiting for somebody to
wildlife or
comment on that.
anything. And I don't know what the answer is, except I hope that maybe we can pull a couple strings and get this moving faster.
Do you know
Yeah.
anybody in Harrisburg?
I wish I
Elected
did. I would
official or-
invite him over to sit on my patio. But I just wanted to
Yep.
say that I just hope if there's any way possible that we can move this along a little faster.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank
the
you for
comment.
comments, Ave. Are there any other comments? Please come up.
David Jarrett. I live at 8 Reservoir Road. Been a resident of East Goshen for 69 years. I've lived there all my life. So I have a good view of the reservoir. I live up on top of the hill. I can look down, I can see and watched all the changes and the flooding and the geese and all that kind of thing that go along with it. My concern, is with proceeding with the plan. That's great. That's good news tonight. I would also like to see some kind of a little more police presence. There's a lot of things going on where cars pull in off of Reservoir Road into the dam. There's drinking, there's drugs, there's all sorts of things. And it's, it's open there. They can just pull off and do whatever they want. And, you see a car pull in, 2 minutes later, another car pulls up, something goes on, and then they go away. So I'm not thinking, they're not there to go fishing.
I am too.
You're right. People can pull off of Westchester Pike there, Route 3, and that they may have no relation to this area at all, but they say, we know where there's a spot. I'll meet you there, whatever it may be. So I really appreciate hearing that. And if the chief were here, that put it, but we will bring it to.
Michael, we have one of the police commissioners here to my left.
And I have a meeting with Dr. Bernat tomorrow. So I have a meeting with Chief Bernat. I'd like a little bit more information. So
Yeah.
if you can hang around for just a moment, I'll get a little bit more information from you.
No
And
problem.
I'll talk with her tomorrow. Thank you very much for bringing it to us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Steve D'Antonio. I live at 6 Reservoir, right next to Dave. Dave works 12 to 14 hours a day. He doesn't see near what I see because I'm home all day. I see cars in the middle of the night every hour. I call the cops probably once or twice every month because I see stuff and I walk down. I don't confront anybody, but it's continual. Every time I call, they do show up most of the time. The issues are the trash that everybody leaves right in the parking area. My son and I go down and clean it up once a month, just to be able to keep it
Thank you for
half
that.
decent,
Thank you for that.
but nobody else does from the township. Why is that?
I have,
There's no trash cans.
I have to be honest with you, this is the first I have heard of it. And there is no trash can, so
No,
maybe
there aren't, and I noticed that when I was
we
down there a
can-
year ago and collecting trash, it's gone, I went, "Gee, where's, you know, 'cause I walked
Is that the
away-
last time you were down there?
Yeah, for me it was.
Wow.
It was.
That's not saying too much.
Well, it may not be, but that's the best I can tell you. And then I was down there and I actually collected trash. I collected a couple
I was
bags.
down
that
there
day,
with
and
Mark a
they
month
see me
ago.
out in other places in the township, so that's one of the things I do.
Okay. Yeah, we have a concern about this whole transition, Dave and I, because we live directly across from the parking area. How's that going to affect coming around that curve? And I had a conversation with my next door neighbor at 4 Reservoir just this afternoon about what's this going to do when this does open up to a park situation with that bad turn. I take my son to the bus every morning and constantly have to tell people to slow down because they don't realize at 8 o'clock, 8:05, my son's getting on a bus. They pull up right up to, as close as they can. I go, they're not obeying the speed limits by any means. That's another problem. I've been here since what, 2004, Dave? And it's constantly pushed off. And we're tired of it. We're tired of being these people down at the Middletown Dam. Nobody else comes down there but the people that like to fish, that you can't really do anymore. And you can't enjoy it. If you went down there tomorrow and take a look and see what happens in just 3 days, you'd be amazed at how much stuff is just left for no good reason. And I've asked this before, and I said, we're not getting any answers. I talked to, the police, and they say, we can't control what goes on that way, but we'll show and make sure cars aren't parked there overnight. We've had that issue. We've had, multiple parties down in the woods down below. People have parked in my driveway. And I thought, well, that's pretty ballsy of them just to be able to think that they're welcome there any time of the night. It's not right. So we need more police presence. We
okay,
need action on that.
okay. I'll talk to her tomorrow. I have a meeting with her tomorrow too. And we'll talk about that. That's a big problem.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much for coming out.
What
and
about a
telling us.
trash receptacle down there? How do we do that?
I can talk to Mark tomorrow.
Yeah, we need to get something down there.
With a chain, absolutely.
Yes, Baxter Wellman at 46 Lockwood. And what you're hearing tonight is the residents on both sides of all of Middletown, the old borough, thinks the Board of Supervisors here doesn't give a darn about the southern part of the township. Because you don't pick up anything, you don't clean up your land down there. That's your property, not mine. Trees are falling in my lot. I can't even have my grandchildren over because of all the bugs. The standing water back there is a crime. If we brought the EPA in here, you guys should be fined for letting standing water like that next to homes with children and grandchildren. Shame on you. You don't do anything down here. You haven't for what, 7 years now? And you're still not doing it.
Wellman, thank you for your comments. And I'm not going to pass this off on the DEP, but the DEP the Department of Environmental Protection has tied the hands of previous boards as well as ours. And I apologize for that. Well, the mosquitoes, that's okay. The mosquitoes is something we'll talk about and see how we can mitigate them.
down there.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, with the high weeds, we've got drugs going on down there.
It's not good.
And the police can't correct what you guys aren't doing.
We'll see what we can do. We appreciate the comment.
Thank you.
Glenn Hartman, ARTMAN at 50 Lockwood Lane. I'm next door to Baxter. And just in the past year, we've had some construction on the hillside to the east of Lockwood Lane. And I've noticed that there's a considerable amount of surface water not coming down on the surface, but it goes subsurface and then comes out on the lower side of the property, but it's on the reservoir preserve. And that's from all the way up at Strasburg Road down to wherever it could drain off into the reservoir area. Now, I guess it was 7 years ago because then I wasn't a property holder there. But the township did come in and did some work back there to drain off some of that water years ago, which the water now is more prevalent due to that construction on the side hill. But the issue there is, I think that if, and it was done by the township, my understanding, is if they would come in and clean out some of the silting that has blocked off some of the drainage to that water, that would be helpful. But the issue about the other vegetation, I guess you'd want to call it, we had a promise that if it got high, that there would be some people coming in, excuse me, to do some mowing or something to keep the weeds down. And that hasn't happened at all. The issue also about trash pickup and things of that nature. I was going down along the highway there, Reservoir Road, and picking things up for months and years. And then they stopped mowing along the reservoir. So essentially then that was getting out into the weed area, and I stopped going back in the weeds to clean some of that up. The other issue that I would like to make you aware of is I sat on the committee for the Middletown Dam. And essentially, I would recommend that when an item such as tonight's meeting where you're addressing some of the issues for the township would be that someone go back and review at least who was on the committees and make some kind of a formal commitment to us as to, yeah, hey, there's a meeting, we'd like to have you at least present. And that I think is an administrative type thing that's just someone could handle, that when there's an agenda item coming up involves any of the ad hoc committees that are involved with functions of the township, that at least the people who served on those committees, they be made aware of it. I'm here because someone dropped some mail in my mailbox, which is, it's a good idea. But again, actually, they're breaking the law because that's illegal. But thank you for your time.
That's a really good
Thank you.
suggestion, because we had a good committee and you were a member of
Yes.
it back when, and I was just fresh on the board when those things were going on. That's a great way to keep some connection here. And again, as this project looks like it may start to take off in the next year, reconstitute the committee and have some active input
Yeah.
from put in the understanding you already have of the project.
Right.
So clearly you brought some matters to our attention that we've been just, ignorant
Okay.
of, just not aware of.
Okay.
And believe me, with Michelle in her role as
Okay. One other item. I don't know if anyone has talked to you, or you've considered what's going to happen with the construction that when it gets started? If there's any issues of traffic control that have been looked at? There's a,
both during construction as well as post. But again, the committee and the roles that you guys serve, that would be beneficial as this thing ramps up again. Consider all those things. You're there, you know what they are, so there could be much more cogent input as this thing starts to take shape.
yeah. I'd be willing to serve on the committee again if it's reconstituted.
Thanks, Mr. Hartman.
Okay, thank you.
One up. We'll get to the Zoom in just a moment. If there are any other members of the audience in person that want to come up, please come on up and line up over here so that we know about how many people we have. Thank you so much.
My name is Seth Lengel, Lengel, of 30 Lockwood Lane. I just wanted to echo the concerns about the safety of illicit activities going on around the dam. I can see from my backyard the number of people who walk out the dam and drop down on the other side of the tower from the parking area, right where the dam was breached, and you know, a variety of activities happening down there. But I can just sit on my porch and, you know, see what's happening. So I just want to echo the sentiments of, you know, there should be some kind of additional, you know, policing, or just a little more attentive for that. And I've only been there for 5 months, so.
Thank you very much for letting us know. Sorry.
Thanks for the input there.
Hi, evening, everyone. Jeff Schweitzer, 29 Waterview Road. I've lived on Waterview for about 3 years and has spent a lot of time in the neighborhood over the last 2 years in the midst of the pandemic. We're a family with 2 children. We have a daughter who is the same age as Eddie's daughter, so we're family friends. We've had a chance to spend some time down there and really grown to appreciate the natural beauty of our community, while also seeing the state of this reservoir, which quite frankly is a blight on the neighborhood. And I heard about what happened a couple of weeks ago. You know, granted, a lot of this is new to me, but I understand that this has been going on for 7 years now. I've learned about the board, about the township, about how the vision of this township is about quality of life, and it's about preserving places of natural and historical significance. And we are betraying that vision because this is clearly affecting quality of life, not just in terms of some of these natural consequences of leaving the reservoir stagnant, but some of the untoward behavior that seems to be happening around there. And it's really a shame because it's leaving stagnant a place that's, you know, potentially could be really beautiful and fit well into our community. So I've been feeling disgruntled about this. I know others have. It's clear that your hands are tied. You know, whatever power of persuasion you have, you know, I implore you to utilize that. But I think what's more doable is just to be careful and clear in your communication, because some things were said a couple of weeks ago that really angered a lot of people. And it sounds like some folks didn't really have their facts straight. So this has been going on for 7 years. So I think that is one thing within your control. When you're communicating on this issue, just be clear on the facts, and that will help us out. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments, Mr. Schweitzer.
Hello again.
Mr. Plummer.
Chris Plummer, Robert. Just had a suggestion. Maybe we could put some kind of gate down there to keep the cars out, to maybe help the police so they're not patrolling. The traffic cam might be like an invitation to, yeah, come on in and they might not use a trash can anyway. So, just some kind of, I mean, I don't know, it's money for the gate and whatnot, but, it might help. So,
The gate. We have to
Um,
check with the chief.
We have to check with the
to
chief.
see
Yeah.
if there's a way to let the police come in if we had a gate.
okay. Oh, there is? All right.
Yes. Do,
It's not far enough.
It's not
yeah,
far enough.
I recall that. It's not
yeah,
far
it's
enough.
not far enough forward. Yeah.
All right.
Okay, that's all I have, just check. Thank you.
Mr. Plummer, that's a good suggestion. All right.
We'll talk to I'll talk to the chief about the gate and police in that
Any
area.
new comments that anybody here in the audience wants to share other than what we've heard, which has been really good? If not, we've turned
We've
it
got
over to
Zoom.
anybody on Zoom, and anybody
Yep.
on Zoom that has any fresh comments to this, to punctuate something fresh to add to this, that would be great.
I'm going to go to Jesse on
Okay.
Zoom.
Okay,
Jesse?
please.
Hi, Jesse, you're unmuted. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, yes, I just, Jessie Mannion from 1341 Park Avenue. I just wanted to express my interest in seeing the dam project through and just requests from the board that you do your best to see this project along. So it sounds like tonight, you expressed that you're waiting on these permits. I just hope that once we have the permits in place, that the project continues to move along. We are fairly new residents. We've been here for about 2.5 years, and we have young kids, and there are many other young children in the area that will benefit from this project. So I do hope that this project continues to move forward.
Thank you, Jesse. That was also why I asked Jarek if we could possibly have the bids ready to go when we get the permit in hand. I don't want anything else to slow the process. If we can do anything on our end, we'll do it. But there's only so far we can go without that permit.
But the project aside, that what we've heard from well, yourself, as you emphasize what's already been said here, the things that we're going to be looking into immediately, again, try and mitigate what's going on down there to whatever degree we can. So we appreciate that. Thanks, Jesse.
Russ Frank.
Okay.
Russ,
Hello?
yep, we got you.
Yep, Russ.
Just a couple of comments. One is this offsite meeting that you guys are talking about or have talked about.
Yeah.
What is the benefit of that? I mean, obviously, not many people show up at these meetings to begin with.
Russ,
Oh, Russ.
Russ, you aren't looking at the audience today.
Well, that's right. There's a great audience today on what has been bugging me as well, because I almost bought a house back there.
So are you talking about the off-site meeting, Russ? Are you talking about the town hall that's proposed to meet with residents when the contractor's picked? Is that what you're referring to?
I thought was this going to be like a routine type of way?
Oh, you're talking about the on the way. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of. I don't need an answer. Just wanted to throw it out there.
We're just looking to shake things up a little bit, Russ.
Yeah,
We figure if we come to you, maybe these meetings can be more well attended if we come out into the community. We're looking at about 20 people here in the room tonight, Russ.
I know, and I think that's great because I probably have attended way more meetings than they have. But the thing is, that's fine. I just wanted to throw that out. It's as long as you don't lose the Zoom part of it.
Right.
For these other meetings.
We might for that one meeting.
Well, we
but-
might if we have a meeting in a different venue. We don't have the equipment for that at this point in time.
Right.
But we'll see how this goes over the,
Yeah, I got that. Derek, can you give any kind of explanation of what happened to ETP today on Boot Hill Road by East Goshen Business Park? A lot of equipment there today.
Yes, I received word last Friday, and then I put a constant contact out along on social media. They are doing so Mark Miller went over there and said they were doing board testing. They basically framed it as post anomaly proofing is how they phrased it. And that, in my understanding, stems from the Wellington work that was done a few weeks back and follow-up testing which again, they refer to as proofing, which they had to do because of that anomaly incident. So I did, a couple of board members wanted me to look into that language a little bit more, so I will be doing that to see exactly what that means in layman's terms. So that, it's basically a follow-up from the Wellington work as far as some testing is what they were telling us.
If you miss that Energy Transfer Partners, the Sunoco pipeline, they're continuing to test and find any flaws before they get permission to go operational. So that's what they were just talking about. If you didn't know what ETP is.
Okay,
Let me tell a quick story. Thanks, Russ.
I wasn't done.
oh, sorry, Russ.
Go ahead, Russ.
But I mean, just so you don't drop me off the thing after David talks.
No, go ahead, Russ. It's okay.
A lot of discussion today about this alternate trail stuff. And I just have two real simple questions. How long is this trail going to be in length from beginning to end? Are we talking 3 miles, 5 miles?
Somewhere between 3 and 5 miles, Russ.
All this for
About-
3 to 5
3.
miles. Okay.
About 3.
It
Right.
depends on the original trail was 2.7 miles.
Right.
The alternative would add some distance to that.
But
And
not
then
lots.
Now,
we've had a couple of board members have had some meetings with adjacent townships who have a desire to connect to our trail system. So, it could be significantly longer.
And that's a good point, David, because, I've had some conversations with the 2 townships that could be involved. One is Willistown, which I don't think they have any plans in connecting to our trail or have any interest in connecting
Well,
to our trail.
let me tell you about Willistown. They surveyed their residents, and the #1 priority in Willistown was walkable and commutable trails and the walkability of Willistown Township. So there's an expressed public interest actually in the walkability and trail systems in Middletown.
Well, that's great to hear. I haven't heard that one before, though.
And David, if I may piggyback on that, our trail is right up to the border.
That's right.
On the eastern side, so Willistown could connect with us.
There's
like that
actually a
if they wanted
connection
to.
there now, which is the wood chip trail that goes up to the development on the corner. Then they come down and use the park system. So yeah, and one of the alternative routes that we're talking about would connect with a concept of West Goshen, a trail system that would connect with their park system and ultimately down into the borough of Westchester.
That's up off of Airport Road.
Right. But there's no
I'll
definite
be
plans
dead
of that
by
yet.
the time that's done, but that's the plan.
Yeah.
What was your other point, Russ?
Go ahead, Russ.
The other point, all during that discussion, we were talking about the trail. With this brand new system, I could hear less than half of it, especially on the sidebar comments. So I really did miss a lot of what people were saying. And is there any way to get a manuscript or description of what those thoughts were? Because it really seemed like there's some interesting comments, but I couldn't even get them from David and Michael there. So I couldn't pick them up on the Zoom meeting.
We could check the minutes, Russ. I think some of it is just making sure our mics are on, because I think when they're on, it's pretty clear. I think you would agree,
Yes.
but
Russ, all of our meetings show up on YouTube, don't they? Did you ever go
Well,
into the
he's saying he can't
township?
here.
Well, you can hear this now.
In other words, right now you can hear me just fine, correct,
Perfect.
Russ?
Right.
Right now, how can you hear me?
Right now, I can't hear you.
You can't.
That's my fault. too.
Exactly.
I have to push the button a little bit more.
Yeah. 'Cause that was happening quite a bit throughout the whole meeting.
I need some on camera training.
Okay. That's it for me.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, Russ. David, did you have something that you wanted to comment on?
I had it on. Time's out.
I got you, Russ.
So what I heard was the issues that we're talking about is kind of mowing and maintenance of the area in anticipation of at least maintaining a little bit better than we have. Abatement of the standing water, that's kind of related to the pest control and mosquito control, trash receptacle and trash abatement in the area, and a concern about the major concern about police surveillance in that area, which we will take care of. Taking a look at the impact of traffic on the curve during after construction of the park and during construction, and the idea of a temporary gate in the parking area that would keep people out of that area. We'll follow up on all of that with our public works folks and with the police force. So you have our commitment to do that, and we appreciate you bringing that to our attention. I want to tell just a quick story. I live near the Hershey's Mill Dam, and the DEP came in and said that dam had to be breached and it was a critical situation. So we breached that dam, and then we tried to get permits. We designed a park and tried to get permits to do that project. And by the time we got the project permitted, we submitted our plans, and the Army Corps of Engineers came back and said, oh no, that area, which has been a pond, is now a wetland. And the regulations are entirely different, and you have to redo your entire plan for the Hershey's Mill Dam. So that was 8 years. So I just want to let you know, that's where I live. And I just want to let you know that I feel your pain on that. But just to give you an example of you're not alone. I'm sorry that we move at the speed of state government, which is, yeah. Yeah, well, it's going to be very nice, and so is yours, and yours is going to cost 2.5 times more than Hershey's Mill Dam, so roughly. So I just wanted to let you know, A, we heard you, and B, you're not the only project that's taken some time, unfortunately. I feel your pain.
I'd like to make one comment. I want to thank everyone who came in tonight. We don't always get this big a crowd, and I appreciate your coming. This is not an excuse, but this is the first that I've heard how bad it is down there.
Me too.
I've been down there, but I'm thinking back, it was a month ago. In the cold weather, you can't smell much anything. I'll be going down again, but thank you all for coming in.
Thank you. Well, I echo those comments, and I think at this time we are ready to.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
I second the motion.
All in favor? Aye. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
We really do appreciate you coming out tonight.